Good evening and thanks for joining us for our special coverage of the BC Conservative Party leadership vote. Here is a live shot from Vancouver as we're waiting for the results to come in. The race started with 11, now sits at 5 candidates to become the next leader of the BC Conservatives and the official leader of the opposition for our province. It has been a wild ride for this party after John Rustad resigned back in December, less than 14 months after he brought the party from the fringe to the brink of power in the 2024 provincial election. There has been infighting and division inside the party, and the new leader will have a huge job ahead of them to bring the party together with a shared vision and sell their brand to the BC electorate. To help break down what we can expect tonight and where this will lead us, we are joined by our very own CHEK News political correspondent, Rob Shaw, and former Director of Communications for the BC Conservative Caucus, Ryan Painter. Thank you so much for both of you for coming in. It is a lot on the line, a lot at stake. We're still waiting for round one. There is a whole voting process to go through. Rob, do you want to touch on, before we start looking at what we're looking for, how the voting process works? Because it's not a direct vote.
Sure, yeah. Well, so there's a number of things that had to happen. There was like 42,000 members that the party ended up with almost. At the end of the membership sign-up period. They had to be verified through a controversial process involving digital verification to prove they were real. We got some numbers that only 26,273 of those members ended up being verified. It was like 62%-ish, with another 15,000-ish who weren't verified. So there'll be some questions about who got signed up as members and couldn't verify. Did they choose not to? Were they not real? Who were these people? Nonetheless, those folks got to vote. They could vote in a preferential ballot. They could pick anywhere from 1 to 5 people. And tonight, depending on the lowest person on each round, their votes will be redistributed to other candidates in the next round. And the number of points, so it's not just votes, it's points, because it's done per 93 ridings. It's as many as 100 points per riding, or if they have fewer than 100 members, fewer points. 9,211 points at play here tonight. 4,605.5 points to win. You reach that mark, you are declared the winner. It may take 1 round, may take 2 rounds, may take 3 or 4 rounds, and that's what we'll be watching for tonight. As each round comes in, the lowest person is dropped off, the count is redistributed, and then we get a new count.
Ryan, I don't know if you want to weigh in on the voting itself and the way the point system is set up. Otherwise, when you look at round one that we're waiting for those results, do you think the story will be told right away?
I think we're going to have a very interesting story come out of this first ballot. I think my sense of things is that we're going to see, I think, the top candidate get around 25-26% of the vote that rolls in. I'd be shocked if it went much higher than that. But if we do get a candidate who at the first ballot is getting over 30%, that is going to be very telling in terms of where the rest of this ballot is going. My instinct says we're going the full 3-4 ballots tonight. And I do feel like that's a safe bet, but you never know. It's a leadership race. The people are voted, and we'll see what they're going to decide.
Rob, there's so much on the line tonight for the Conservatives and the NDP, and we can get into both in just a moment. But looking at what's at stake for the BC Conservatives, I don't mean this as disrespect to any of the candidates, but for a lot of people, just your typical voter in BC, I don't think a lot of these names are what you consider a star candidate. I don't think there's anyone that goes, oh, I know that person right away. So it feels like there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done for whoever wins tonight just to show who they are.
That's true. It is not an insurmountable thing to do, though. I still remember John Horgan, NDP opposition leader, 2017, before the vote, wandering through Chinatown with a news station trailing him, asking folks in Victoria, do you know who this guy is? Nobody knew who he was. I remember covering him on the campaign in 2017 in a SkyTrain in Vancouver. Nobody knew who he was. You become known in the depths, in the moment of interest in a provincial election, and an opposition leader tends to languish quite a bit before then. So yes, a profile is going to be part of this, whoever wins. You don't need it right now. You need to create a team. You need to avoid self-owned goals. You need to get discipline. You need to put in the structure. But you don't need to be more well-known than the Premier, and you won't be, because you don't have that opportunity to enter into people's lives the same way. And I always remember that John Horgan thing, because there's a guy who goes on to become the most popular Premier in modern history, and no one knew who he was. And he was a local MLA in Victoria, and people were like, who are you? you know, and that's just the way the electorate works. Is they don't want to know until they have to know, and then they will engage, and you got to meet them then.
There was a fun story, just if I can get on that, that John once told about being in Vernon with Carol James just after he became elected, and someone came up to him and said, "Oh, Carol James, we like you so much. Who's that?" And I just thought that was funny because it's indicative of the fact that politics, you never know what's going to happen.
We're going to take the feed right now and go to the floor because I believe round one is about to be announced.
To begin, in fifth, with 971.34 points, equating to 10.5%, Peter Millibar. In fourth, 1,193.27 points, equating to 13%, Yuri Fulmer. In third, with 1,865.82 points, equating 20%, Ian Black. In second place, equating to 2,374.14, otherwise 25.8%, Caroline Elliott. Finally, in first with 2,806 points, .42, equating to 30.5%, Carrie Lynn Finley. Seeing that no candidate has crossed the 50% threshold, Mr. Millibar has been eliminated and a second round will be tabulated shortly. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the numbers are coming in for first round. I don't know. Do we call this a surprise? Are you, Ryan? You talked about not getting over 25%, and now we've got Lynn Finley over 30%.
Yeah, so actually, I am surprised. I'll be honest with you. I fully did not anticipate somebody would hit this first round at above 26%. And now, as you've said, Carolyn Finley has on the first ballot 2,806 votes. I'm also very surprised to see Peter Millibar, who really pushed on this campaign his 8-0 electoral history, his steady hand as the finance critic in the legislature, question period performances. He had some very incredible and impressive endorsements too from folks like Gavin Dew and Kyle Giddens. And to see him get knocked off right off the first ballot, I did not have that on my bingo sheet.
Rob, any takeaways from the first round?
Well, I think we were expecting either Fulmer or Millibar to be on the bottom, but I agree with Ryan there. That it felt like with the caucus support that Millibar had, which was the biggest caucus support of a candidate, he had a number of MLAs come out very early, that he would have done better. But we have learned in leadership races that MLAs, especially conservative MLAs, don't necessarily control their ridings the way we think they do, and they can't bring those members in to vote the way that maybe Millibar had hoped for. So here's the, we see the numbers here that are coming up on the screen here, and there's Millibar at the bottom at 10.5, and then Fulmer above him. So what happens is Millibar is knocked off now. His votes, people who voted for him, will get redistributed based if they had second or third or fourth, fifth choices as we go along here in a complicated mathematical formula. So the next round we see we'll just have Findley, Elliott, Black, and Fulmer, and those numbers will adjust. And we're left to speculate here who people who voted for Peter Millibar, who they might have picked as their second choice.
Is there a natural allegiance?
I think there is. My sense of things is that there is. Look, Peter Millibar and Ian Black have both led very much what could be your kind of typical realist, conservative, fiscal conservative campaign, with Ian Black running on a 20% tax break and Peter Millibar running on the I have the experience, I can run this party, we can defeat the NDP. It has been a very focused message. So I think that Peter's 971 votes could very well, I can't say all of them will, but I think a lot of them could go to Ian Black. And here's what's very interesting. Ian Black currently sits at 1,865 votes. If most of Peter Millibar's votes go to him, he could actually overtake Carolyn Finley. Now, that's not going to happen. He's not going to get all of those votes, but it could put him close to second place.
Do you think there's something tricky coming up here, or is it a two-horse race?
Oh, this is the tricky version of where we're going. You know, the cleaner version has passed us by. So
Yes.
get ready. Hold on to your seats, folks, because this may go. This is going to at least go another couple rounds, I think. So we'll see where it goes.
I think
You
we're looking
hang
at that.
tight,
Yeah.
get your breath. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back with our coverage of the Leadership Convention happening in Vancouver. Round 1 is done, and we'll have an update for you when we come back right after this.
We believe everyone should be able to access comfortable, quality dental care. That's why Quantum Dental offers transparent services and flexible financial assistance for patients from Nanaimo to Campbell River. Visit a Quantum clinic and see how we're doing dental different.
Saratoga Speedway and Saratoga Motorsports Park is the Comox Valley's #1 destination for family entertainment. Head to saratogaracing.ca for a full look at all upcoming 2026 events and get your tickets now. Also, make sure to stay close to the action with Speedway RV, the North Island's newest campground. With over 100 sites, a general store, pool, and more, Speedway RV is the place to stay. Book your site now at speedwayrv.ca. Black Creek, Saratoga Speedway and Speedway RV, Vancouver Island's home of speed and family fun.
If you are a business experiencing incidents of vandalism or trespassing and your employees feel unsafe, Themis Security can help. We have served and protected communities since 2010. Give us a call. Themis Security protects what matters to you.
Archie Johnstone Plumbing and Heating, a full-service mechanical contractor since 1954. From emergency service to preventative maintenance, commercial to residential. Archie Johnstone Plumbing and Heating. We're plumb serious about plumbing. Visit us at ajph.com.
Hey, what's up?
You brought your own Armstrong cheese?
Of course, I love it.
It's okay to bring your own Armstrong cheese.
Tim's Omelet Bites. Real cheese, eggs, and sausage. Delicious. High in protein. And 2 for only $3.99? We call that a win-win-win. Try Tim's new sausage and 4 cheese flavor today. Mix and match 2 for $3.99.
We have to make the jury see it's murder. D.S. Brooks, this is D.S. Hawkins. First day. No dental records. No fingerprints.
There's a whole world of difference between knowing it and proving it.
Law and Order UK, Tuesdays at 8, right here on CHEK.
Welcome back to our special coverage of the BC Conservative Party leadership vote. Round 1 is in the books and has taken at least our 2 experts sitting next to me by surprise. In terms of the amount that Lynn Finlay is sitting at right now, crossing that 30% mark, and maybe what happens to the bottom part of this ballot, where those votes go. Rob, what's I guess different nowadays is there isn't that convention floor wheeling and dealing on the ground. This stuff has already been done. It's in the books. Would there have been any tactical or strategies happening, in the last week or 2 weeks to try and get on this game? Like, would people be understanding, okay, so Ian Black's going to come in third, where are those votes? Would that game already be playing?
Sure, yeah. There's campaigns that talk, unofficially to each other kind of about that. The problem with it is that some folks have platform policies that don't really always align with each other. And so if you're, say, looks like we're
I think we're going to go to
round
round 2. So sorry to cut you off, Rob.
Yep.
But I believe that we're going to hear round 2. Let's jump to the floor.
In fourth, with 1,282 points, 0.52 or 13.9%, Yuri Fulmer. In third, with 2,328.21 points, or 25.3%, Ian Black. In second, with 2,638.72% or 28.6%, Caroline Elliott. In first, with 2,961.53 points, or 32.2%, Carrie Lynn Finlay. Seeing that no candidate has hit the 50% threshold, Mr. Fulmer will be eliminated, and we will proceed to a round 3. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll wait for round 3. We're seeing those numbers starting to tighten in this what looks to be a two-way race, unless there's some. You guys know the math and understand this better than I do, but to me it looks like it's come down to these two women who will lead the BC Conservatives. Have I got the wrong take? Is there a surprise, a dark horse here?
No, well, I mean, we'll wait and see. I guess like the numbers could shift here depending on where we go. But it does look like, you know, we have Finley at 32%. We have Elliott at 28%. Fulmer's numbers, where do Yuri Fulmer's supporters go? And we were talking about this before we took a break there. The problem with Fulmer, although he could be a natural ally to someone like Finley, is his partnership, his agreement with 1BC caught a lot of people off guard. He agreed in this campaign to fold down 5 seats, 5 ridings in the next election for the 1BC party with Dallas Brody and not contest them and then form a minority government with 1BC. And Finley was critical of that. She said, you can't just give away 5 ridings. We're already down against the NDP. So it's possible that they still find a way to align. I think Fulmer spent his entire campaign attacking Elliott very personally from the beginning, including her children in his first video. It's going to be tough to see his votes going to Elliott. Some of them may go to Black, but in this round, I think we're going to see Finley go up and Black go up. Now, whether Black overtakes Elliott, I'm not quite sure, but that's just going to be fascinating. Yeah.
And Ryan, your take on the difference with Elliott and Finley? Like, what are we looking at in terms of? I know it's still early, and Rob's suggesting there's something could still happen here. Is there much of a difference that would change the look of the BC Conservative Party?
You know, I think it's hard to tell. What is really interesting to me is that we've got a 300 vote split roughly between the first, the second, and the third candidate. And if you have Ian Black, who takes another 310 votes, he could leapfrog over Caroline Elliott and become second. This is why this stuff is so interesting. I just wanted to point that out for a second. In terms of where the party goes, look, I think they both have a very interesting message. Caroline Findlay has run on the very Pierre Poilievre connected true blue message, and in fact, she's very much tried to say, if you like Pierre Poilievre, you're going to love me. I'm the same conservative as he is, and that's where she's positioned herself. Caroline Elliott has had a bit of a different needle to thread. She's been endorsed by Gordon Campbell and Jason Kenney. She's put a really solid team together that I think has run a strong campaign. She's certainly raised a lot of money, and so I do think she could bring some more professionalization if she were leader. It would be interesting to see.
Is that what, again, I don't want to talk, like, we can show the numbers here and bring up what round 2 looks like. Is that what what is her positive, having these big endorsements by Campbell and Kenney, but in this new era of Tory, are Campbell and Kenney dinosaurs?
And a lot of people see them that way, especially folks who are engaged in this new version of the Conservative Party. Remember, there were 7,000 members before, 26,000 members who are now eligible, grew to 42,000. We're not sure which of those 42,000 were verified into the 26. I'm throwing a lot of numbers out, but the point is, the party grew very quickly. We're not sure who it is that makes up that 26,000 verified vote. So who is going to actually have been voting for Yuri? I think Rob made a really important point that Yuri spent a lot of his time going after Caroline Elliott. There is this 1BC deal that Caroline Findlay was certainly critical of. So does this mean that Yuri's second place voters are putting Ian Black in place? And can Ian Black find a way to sneak up here and get into second? Because if not, he's out on the next ballot, and it is a 2-person race.
Does that, again, it's too early, we don't want to speculate on who's winning, but in terms of the division of where the Conservative Party goes, is one of these candidates more in the world of where Mr. Rustad was, or are all these candidates taking a different turn?
Well, Rustad endorsed Ian Black, but I tend to see his alignment a little bit more with a Caroline Findlay than a Caroline Elliott. So that version of the Rustad kind of early, further right, rabble-rousing, individual, radical kind of conservative is more of the Findlay variety than the sort of traditional BC liberal, let's govern, let's come together, let's form the coalition Elliott campaign. So we'll see what happens next, but Interesting. This is the most interesting of the multiverses that we could be in here. Here
Least
we are.
expected.
It's certainly
we'll
true.
Hold that thought, and we'll come back right after this with more from the leadership vote happening in Vancouver right now for the next leader of the BC Conservative Party and the next opposition leader of our province.
I'm Rob Garrow. Here's your Victoria Foundation Community Check-In.
The Cedar Hill Ladies Field Day will be raising funds for Victoria Hospice at their annual golf tournament. Browse their incredible silent auction items at victoriahospice.org. This triathlon brings together athletes, families, and supporters to raise funds for survivors of sexualized violence. To learn more, visit tryofcompassion.com. Celebrate the start of summer at the Sydney Street Market with local vendors, live music, great food, and the vibrant energy of downtown Sydney. Nashville-style performances and storytelling meet the backdrop of the Pacific Ocean at the Boots and Boats Country Music Festival in Nanoose Bay. Eventbrite.ca for tickets. Don't miss the Cook Street Village Block Party, a family-friendly street festival with local vendors, live music, food, beer gardens, and of course the famous fastest dog races.
That's your Community Check-In, supported by the Victoria Foundation, uplifting community since 1936.
Harbour Cats Baseball is Victoria's hottest summer entertainment. Single game tickets on sale now. See you at the game. Wilson's Group Stadium at Royal Athletic Park.
Are you ready, team?
Ready to outrun your trivia competition?
That is a huge number.
Where knowledge isn't power.
Are you ready to catch her?
It's survival.
Don't stop me now. Let's get to it.
The chase is on. Wednesdays at 9 on CHEK.
38.6 points, Carrie Lynn Finlay. Seeing that no candidate has crossed the 50% threshold, there will be a next round. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're just bringing those numbers together as we just went through another round. I see the gentleman here sketching out their notes. Does someone have the latest numbers down there? Ryan, do you want to take it away?
So Ian Black, 2,767. Caroline Elliott, 2,883. Carolyn Findlay, 3,559. Ian Black is out now, and they'll go to the next round. And I did not see this coming. I'm going to say I did not see Carolyn Findlay having the lead the entire time and retaining it. But it does remind me, if you cast your mind back to the leadership election that Andrew Wilkinson won, Diane Watts spent most of that leadership race.
You're going back to the BC Liberals.
That's
now.
right. Yeah, she spent most of that race in the lead. And at the very last ballot, when it was just two, she got leapfrogged by Andrew Wilkinson, who ended up being the safe vote. So I could easily see a scenario where Ian Black's votes majorly go over to Caroline Elliott and push her over the top.
Yeah, I mean, we look at where those numbers just went there, and we're talking net transfer votes. We're not talking like, this isn't exact mathematics here, but the loss of Fulmer tended to favor Carolyn Findlay. And then around almost 600 points there, and then Ian Black around 400 points, and then Elliott around 250-ish points. So that was the kind of breakdown of what happened when we eliminated Fulmer from the race. So yeah, that is Black.
You can keep talking. I'm just going to ask our director if we have the latest rounds in a board yet that we can bring up. I know we have the first two rounds, but do we have the latest one? Is this the latest round? That's the last round, not the...
That's round one.
This is round one. Okay, we'll go through round one. So this is how the evening started.
Yeah.
Which was, I guess, the only standout surprise was the amount of votes or the amount of percentage that Lynn Finlay got in that one.
And Millibar being eliminated there. And then Millibar's votes, when he were eliminated, they overwhelmingly kind of went to Ian Black.
They did, yeah.
In the next round. So Ian Black was able to hold off in that third place position, and Fulmer was the one in the next round who was knocked off there. And then in the round following that, Fulmer's votes tended to favor Carolyn Finley and Ian Black, keeping Elliott in that second place. So as Ryan pointed out, it is entirely possible that if Black's voters go to Elliott, that she could leapfrog up here, but that's a photo finish. That's a, that's a split party.
Here's the latest updated of the one we're just playing catch up to. They
it's a three-way split
surprised
there.
us.
It is, yeah.
So is it fair to say this actually is anyone's race at this moment?
Well, depending on where Black's votes go, yes. But Finley has shown, a solid lead here in multiple rounds. But again, if Black's voters align with Elliott, she could make this jump here. But it will lead to a fractured party, like for sure. This is not an overwhelming, decisive victory. This is a split party. Not quite sure the direction they want to go. There's going to be some people in the Carolyn Finley camp and the Elliott camp who will be analyzing the results and wondering that victory was within their grasp, but they didn't quite get it over the line.
And I want to talk about that in just a moment. I also want to bring to our viewers' attention, if you're watching on CHEK, on broadcast, we will wrap up at 7 o'clock for Wheel of Fortune, so regular programming will continue. However, this is going to go on for multiple rounds, so we will continue to
This is
cover
more fun
this.
than Wheel of Fortune.
We'll continue to cover this live on CHEK Plus or at YouTube. You can go to checknews.ca. You can even go to checkplus.ca, and we will be streaming it. And again, it's on our YouTube channel. We'll continue to cover this live, the three of us, throughout the rounds here. But don't you worry, if you're sitting there waiting for Wheel of Fortune, it will come up at 7 o'clock. So as we work our way through, and again, at least a two-way race, if not a three-way race, Ryan, can you talk a little bit about the division? You were in that fray under the Rustad era, and it did start to crack and led us to this point. Is this going to solve anything if you have two people where it's so close who have different views of the party, and one, no matter which way it goes, does that cause a problem, a vacuum?
I think it does. I think you can get beyond divisions, and you heard this in Trevor Halford's speech, is we have to leave all of this a united team, because there is one person to focus on, and that is David Eby. There's one government that has been failing British Columbians for the last 10 years. That's David Eby. And so the person who does win this, and you're right, it looks like for all intents and purposes, it's going to be a razor-thin win here. But you never know what could happen. But I do think that person has to find a way through the speech that they're going to give after this. There has to be some recognition of all the other candidates who ran, all the other teams that worked on this, and the need for unity, because you cannot take on what really is a juggernaut of a machine. Make no mistake, the NDP have an excellent election machine. It is a juggernaut. And if you are not united and you cannot make the case that you need to be supported and that you're the government in waiting, they're not going to vote for you. They'll vote for the other guys.
It's so interesting to me because it seems to happen on, I could be wrong, and both of you could correct me on it, because maybe the NDP and the Greens have faced it provincially, but it seems across the country, this theme, going back to the Reform Party under Preston Manning, to the Canadian Alliance, and then that merger that occurred, that on the right, there typically seems to be more of a threat of a party breaking. And Daniel Smith is working through this in Alberta, where you have about 20% of the party that isn't willing to come into the fold to maybe iron out some of the wrinkles, to be like, hey, we'd rather be in power than maybe die on the sword. It seems on the right, there's about 20% that says, no, we'll die on the sword.
I think it's because the left is already broken, right? The Greens broke away from the NDP federally, provincially. The environmental tension that exists between that party and the labor, job-generating natural resource sector kind of gave the NDP provincially the breathing room to go more into the center. David Eby doesn't owe the environmental movement anything. They're over on the Greens, so he's able to kind of slide around. So they've already had that break. The right break is between the center moderate kind of social. There's a lot of social issues at play in the right now. The idea that you're all just going to get together, park your social issues, and balance the budget and run the government like a private company is kind of almost a dated philosophy in the modern conservative movement. People want to fight for issues that they feel held down by on race, on Indigenous relations, on sexuality, on big topic kind of social issues. So that
and yet when you say that sounds dated to me, because even in Pierre and Poilievre's campaign, he came across, I think his downfall was the Trump mechanism. That sort of world seemed to take Canadians off guard. Would that not play out in BC the same way?
But remember, we're talking about the membership of the party. Tonight we're talking about the general electorate. So they're off in that world. They're playing in that world. Their risk is that they play too far to themselves and everybody else. And that's always the risk in leadership elections, is that your members become too radicalized and too out of touch, and you're unable to relate to the public.
Ryan, hold that thought. Cut you off, Rob. Let's go to the next round.
All right.
My fellow Conservatives, I have in my hand the winner of the race. And it doesn't get any closer than this. The individual in second place has 4,514 points, 49%. The individual in first place has 4,696.51, 51%. Ladies and gentlemen, your next leader and Premier of British Columbia, Carrie Lynn Finley.
There's shock here inside the CHEK studios. There's a lot of excitement and clapping happening in Vancouver with this announcement. We're just crunching the numbers here, and we'll start detailing what this means for the future of the BC Conservatives and the opposition and the NDP, and where the political landscape, if it changes at all. It seems like it's an earthquake in terms of the landscape politically with this new move. We're just waiting to see whether there'll be, we'll wait for the winner to come up to the podium, but gentlemen, I'll have you weigh in on these results now.
Well, they show that, you know, Ian Black's votes were split, and in fact, well, a small majority of those votes appear to have gone to Elliott, around 1,600 points, that Finley picked up 1,100 of them, and that was not the path for Elliott to win. And so Finley now at a squeaker. I think the closeness of these results are going to invite some people to begin to pick apart the leadership process and the verification and what votes were here and what votes were canceled at the last minute, which is not going to help the party. It would have been better to have a decisive victory for them, maybe. But that is quite... there you go, Carrie Lynn Finley elected as the next leader of the BC Conservatives. Now, the question, there are many questions that flow from this. One of the questions is going to be, what does that mean for the current caucus? Does everyone want to serve under this leader? Does Peter Milobar, who was ruled to be in a conflict of interest by Finley for having Indigenous family members, want to be a member of her party? Does Alia Warbus, an Indigenous MLA who, by Finley's own rationale, is not eligible to comment on Indigenous issues, want to be a member of Finley's party? That'll be interesting. Here she is.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. Wow. What a night this has been. And what a journey this has been. I first want to thank all the other candidates who love British Columbia like I do. I know that. So I want to thank each and every one of them for putting their names forward and being part of the future of British Columbia. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. You know, my small team of determined warriors has been led by my campaign manager, Chris Dyson. And bolstered by so many MLAs who endorsed me and worked in their own communities. Give yourself a hand, you MLAs who endorsed and supported me. Really, you've been awe-inspiring. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are look, so many people have helped in this, and you're too numerous right around the province to name, but you know who you are, and I am forever grateful for your wisdom, your advice, and steadfast faith in our vision for a BC that will bring prosperity and opportunity to all who call it home. That's us. Next, I want to recognize my husband, Brent Chapman. Now, Brent is the MLA for Surrey South. But long before that, and since, he has been a source of never-ending love and support to me. So thank you, darling. Thank you. Also here tonight representing us are two of my 4 children. There's Hannah and her sons, Aiden and Ronan and Donna and her baby Ruth. It isn't just a chocolate bar, it's a real person, baby Ruth. And look, family, honoring them, protecting them, loving them, and encouraging them is the biggest part of my life. And I love you all. We are a strong, resilient clan, and I know their brother and sister are watching tonight along with their young children. They're too young to understand all of this, and really, I get that. But someday they will understand that their Gigi, which is what they call me, stood up for them and the children to follow. Stood up to make our beautiful BC more affordable, more livable, more safe, and more prosperous. I want the generations now and to come to feel they can have a comfortable and happy life as British Columbians. Isn't that what we all want, right? So what am I fighting for? I'm fighting for nothing less than the future of British Columbia, our way of life. Mine is a grand vision of fundamental change. Our homes, our individual rights, our properties are at stake. We need hope and prosperity. As Minister of National Revenue, I oversaw lower taxes, red tape cuts, and a return to surplus from the worst recession since the 1930s. We can do this in British Columbia. Our province will become strong. Good-paying jobs, modern infrastructure, resource wealth, and opportunity that has been blocked by the NDP. We can be a powerhouse in our nation, a powerhouse no longer denied by Eastern and global elites, predatory foreign nations, and our own Constitution. NDP radical ideology has devastated property rights, backroom side agreements, and the NDP's economic vandalism has to end. A Finley government will negotiate in the open, will bring clarity and certainty, because that is what unleashing our natural resources, attracting investment, keeping our professionals practicing without censorship, and promoting freedom demands, and will deliver. British Columbians deserve this, and we will no longer be seen as irrelevant in interprovincial and international trade and commerce. Make no mistake, I am fighting for our sovereignty, for our home. I will unify and take the fight to grassroots British Columbians who've had enough of being pushed around. I am leading to take this province back, speaking up for all, finding solutions that last, where hard work is respected, less government, more freedom, powerful Western alliances, dealing effectively with the tough issues we face daily, violent crime, drugs, chaos, and disorder in our neighborhoods. Right down the street here when we came in tonight. It's all within our grasp. Lower taxes, safer streets and communities, protecting our children, and putting parents and families as a priority. Clear policy commitments, disciplined messaging, public safety taken seriously again, economic decisions that prioritize small business. And when the time comes, and I'm looking at all the MLAs now, when the time comes, real campaign support for our excellent MLAs and candidates. Does that sound exciting? It is, but I understand it's also work, serious work. The Conservative Party of BC will stand together because we know that we can make a difference. We can fight back and we can deliver real change. We'll do it, all of us together. Tonight, in this amazing space, Rocky Mountaineer, don't you just love their name? I love it. I see passion and commitment. I see people who are not prepared to give up on their communities. I see people who believe that BC can still be a beacon of opportunity, functional, safe, affordable, and family-friendly. With your help, we can turn that commitment into real change, to bring common sense across British Columbia. In our national anthem, we cry out to God to make our land glorious and free. Free people making free choices and free speech in a free enterprise market economy where hard work is rewarded and we are not crushed by socialist overreach that wants to dictate literally what we think, what we believe, what we can say, and who we associate with. I'm asking you now to donate and volunteer. Volunteer some time to our win. Faith, family, and freedom. That's what it's all about. And truly. And I can't wait to get started. God bless British Columbia and God bless all of you. Allons-y, let's go!
Carolyn Finley there making her acceptance speech as the new leader of the Conservative Party of BC and the new leader of the opposition. Ryan, I'll go to you for final thoughts here on what this means in terms of inside the party and some of the fractures or unity this brings.
Well, it needs to bring unity. I think I said before, the only way that you have an opposition party in British Columbia and win is by being unified and by coming together. And I think the challenge we have here, which we've seen, and you can see Gavin Dew is coming up, we've got all the MLAs coming up here as well. I think you have to be able to coalesce that group around some kind of message. And the challenge with a 51 to 49% is this is a split result. And, you know, I go back to the fact that John Rustad won or scored 70% support on his leadership review. We barely got a win for the Carolyn Finley team here. It's a win. You can't take that away from them. They won this clearly, but there's a lot of mending to do inside this party, and they have to start as soon as they're done partying tonight.
Rob, what happens next?
Well, you can see on the stage there a big black cowboy hat. That is Jordan Keeley, who is not a Conservative MLA, but endorsed Carolyn Finley. He's going to be back in that party, as is Tara Armstrong, who is very controversial, invoking a Nazi phrase in the House in the last session and being widely condemned, endorsed Carolyn Finley, who probably expected to come back to the party. You're going to see the Finley campaign purge the party. You're going to see it purge the caucus. It is, I think, the preferred choice of the NDP. New Democrats I talked to think Finlay is a much easier fight than Carolyn Elliott's going to be, and you already see the NDP response here. This is the headline of their press release out. Finlay's racist campaign hands control of BC Conservatives to pro-Trump faction is the NDP reaction to this, citing some problems.
Is this the best result the NDP could have asked for?
This is what the NDP was
if
hoping
you're in
for.
that camp, okay.
I mean, they were going to have more trouble fighting Carolyn Elliott, I think, than Carolyn Finlay. I will say that we did talk to Carolyn Finlay during the campaign. She has some island promises, if you're interested in that. She's got some accountability and transparency promises for BC Ferry. She supports expanding the ENN rail corridor and prioritizing a whole bunch of different highway upgrades on the island, including in widening the Malahat and some other upgrades there. So she is from Ladysmith. She was born there. She's 71 years old, a former Harper-era cabinet minister, and what we would consider, I think, the traditional conservative. She existed in the BC Conservatives before John Rustad. She's one of the kind of founding original Conservatives before they moderated into the new version that they're in, and this is a step back, I think, to that harder edge BC Conservative. So does the caucus stick with her? Does this open up a split for a centrist party? What happens next? Welcome to BC politics.
So many storylines, so many. We could go on much longer and get down to some of the nitty-gritty, but we have Wheel of Fortune coming up.
Okay.
Ryan, thank you. Rob, thank you. We will return you now to Wheel of Fortune. Thank you so much for watching.